video strategist Phil Nottingham says it's time to start laying the groundwork on video. Welcome, Phil Nottingham.
Hello, Webbdagarna. Can you hear me? Wonderful. So, hello, lovely to be here in Sweden. My name is Phil Nottingham, and I work as a video strategist. So I basically help brands work out what kind of video they should be making, where they should be putting it online. And I also work on the product side for a company called Wistia, where we're making a bunch of tools for video. And I've actually been working in video and film now for about 10 years, which, relatively speaking, makes me a dinosaur. Because the way I first was engaging with video was through a device like this, which is essentially a DV cam deck. And what I would do is take a tape that I'd filmed on my big camera, I'd put it in there, I'd sync up the time codes, and I'd turn my analog footage into something that I could then make digital, put onto a computer in order to edit. And this probably took 3 to 4 days. Now, of course, this entire process has been made entirely redundant by technological advances, which is a shame because I got really good at this, and this was an important part of my job for a long period of time. But the challenge is, because I was there a while back and I have grown up with video as part of my life, when I see stats like this from Cisco that say by 2019, 80% of the world's internet traffic is going to be video, and we start to see the idea that actually the majority of communication online is going to be video-based, so video is like the new HTML, I start to think in terms of this. I start to think, well, it's like this camera here. Video is kind of like making a film, and the majority of communication is going to be via this system of creating an advertisement or a big piece, and we're going to spend ages coming up with a great idea, and we're going to script it, we'll film it, and we'll put it out, and people love us, and it'll be great. But the problem is, because, like, what seems like some of the rest of you in this room, I'm in my 30s, I'm kind of behind the times. And the majority of video communication now is no longer about big cameras, it's about small cameras. We all walk around with a HD camera in our pockets. In fact, for just a couple of €100, you can strap a 4K camera to a mug of coffee and film that if you so desire. So it's a crazy world, and it's changed dramatically. And while the production has scaled down to the point now that it's accessible to children as young as 2, distribution has also become far more complicated. So 10 years ago, while I was spending a great deal of time making this video, it was very easy to then distribute it, because the only option was to put it on YouTube. That was the video platform that was available for distribution. Whereas now, of course, we have Facebook video, we have Twitter, we have Vimeo, there's obviously Instagram and Instagram Stories, Snapchat, Periscope, Pinterest, LinkedIn, the list goes on and on. Essentially, we're now in a world where all social networks are now essentially video platforms at their core. But when we talk about video, we don't just mean one type of media, because the kind of thing that you can create for Snapchat is very, very different in not only the media type, but the way people consume it, from the kind of content that's going to be visible on your website. And the type of thing that you might be making to put on YouTube is probably not going to work in the same way as the kind of thing that's going to work on Facebook. And so those of us who think from a kind of filmic perspective, we think about video as being this TV-first principle, where we build these content and then we worry about distributing it, we're really behind. And we're thinking about this all wrong. And actually what we need to do is start thinking a little bit like the way Ross was talking about earlier, platform first. So we work out where the gaps in our funnel are. So we say, well, okay, do we need more awareness? Do we need to improve conversion? Do we need to have better advocacy? And we work out where the gaps are. We then work out which platforms we need to create content for in order to solve those particular problems. And then we create content for the platforms rather than worrying about distribution afterwards. So if you've ever sat there and asked the question, where should I host my video? You've already failed, because you should have started that problem before you even began creating the content itself. It's all about creating it for the platform rather than just distributing it after the fact. But this kind of begs a difficult question, because we have to ask, well, how much should we spend on content, like video content? Because clearly we can't be spending thousands and thousands of dollars on every piece we create. If we're doing Snapchat and Instagram, this stuff, we can't think of it as the same level of budget as a TV ad. Well, I think it's actually a very, very simple way to think about this, which is roughly the number of people who are going to be viewing the video. So if you are going to be making, say, just one video for one person at an email, spend a small amount on it. And then scale up the spend depending on the amount of people that you're likely to be actually seeing. And so if you think about social media, dependent on the audience that you are speaking to, there may be only a few people on some channels, a great deal more on another one. And you can scale it up linearly accordingly. So I think really the way to think about this is about segmenting the video work you're doing between the in-house stuff, the things that you're going to make yourself, either by hiring an in-house videographer or just learning yourselves how to make simple video, and then the stuff that you might be getting agency support. And I would really advise that you start with the small stuff. So start making video with just the things that are going to be for a few people or just one person. Start really, really small and start making it yourself, because if you get good at this, it's much, much easier to scale to bigger video production that might involve an agency, rather than trying to do what I see a whole bunch of companies do, and many of the companies that I work with, which is start too big, because they're used to doing TV. So they'll go, okay, well, we're going to spend all this money on a great big viral campaign and then try and make content to support it. But that doesn't really work. It's like Ross's system of you need to test and iterate and see what works and then move on from there. You start small and then scale from that place. And if you want to learn how to make your own video in your own office, a couple of links there for posts that I've put together which just tell you how to build up a studio in your office for just a few thousand euros or whatever, and you'll get that going. And I also want to recommend a couple of other things that you should be purchasing to do this. The first one is called the Dji Osmo. Now, this is basically a handheld gimbal camera. And what this means is something as simple as that. It's about $400 US, I think. What's that price for a round of drinks in Sweden? You can basically... I had a shock last night, I'll tell you. It's basically a handheld gimbal, and what you can do is mimic the effect of having either a crane or a dolly, or get these really nice smooth shots for spending almost no money at all. And the other one to recommend is something called the Ricoh Theta S, similar kind of price point, and this is a 360 camera that allows you to do virtual reality. And you can just put it on the floor and create something like this that I made a couple of weeks ago, which is just a dog going in a circle eating a load of peanuts. And very, very simple to make. Took almost no time at all. But this kind of stuff is where the innovation and the interesting thing is happening with video. But it's all in that small level. Yeah. So my advice is, instead of thinking big, think broad and start small. And by broad, I mean think really linearly about where video can exist in the business. So instead of just thinking, well, video is really a brand activity, video is for social, it's for TV and all this kind of stuff, think about the other channels that might benefit from video. So email is a big one, maybe recruitment. And think about empowering the entire organization to start making small videos rather than siloing it in a particular department that might be the brand department if you're a slightly old school business. So what I want to talk through today is just three particular channels that I think amongst the mix are probably the main ones that you're going to be working with on a day-to-day basis. Social, which is probably where most of you have started playing with video, your own website, and then CRM and email as well. So let's start with social. So I'm going to start with YouTube. And some of you are probably thinking, YouTube, is that a social media channel? I thought YouTube was a search engine. Well, it's kind of complicated. If we think about Facebook as like a bar, it's where you go to speak to your friends, it's where you get to catch up, get distracted, generally be entertained. Google is probably something like this, a supermarket. This is probably Bing. YouTube is kind of like a library. It's a place where you can go to find information and entertainment. But it's also designed for that conversation and collaboration. So it is partially a search engine in that it has a search function, but really I think it's more a social space than a search space. And I'll explain a bit more about why that is in a second. Does anybody know what the most popular kind of content on YouTube is? It's not cats. It's close. It's music. Gangnam Style, all these things. These are some of the top videos on YouTube. It's all music, and that's not a surprise, because while actually video we may think of as an oral and visual platform, oral and visual media type, where YouTube is concerned, it's actually skewed far more towards the oral. And we see this across the board with the kind of content it does well. So many of you may have sat and listened to music on YouTube, or listened to a podcast, or watched a lecture, or things which actually, if you remove the visual element from it, they still kind of make sense. But if you remove the oral element, it would make no sense at all. And so when you're thinking about the kind of content that you should create for YouTube, think in these terms. Think about the fact that the way people discover content is through a headline and through a thumbnail, and they need to kind of be searching through and clicking through and discovering what they want to find. And you need to offer something that's going to be interesting to them. And so I would always advise, if you have kind of nowhere to go, think about what kind of intellectual ideas do you have. Can you do how-tos? do very, very well on YouTube? Do you have any smart people who can give lectures? That kind of stuff works very well on YouTube as well. What doesn't work so well is just kind of general brand videos, here's who our company is, all that kind of stuff, because nobody's going through and searching for that. Has anybody ever read an article on YouTube SEO? A couple of you? Maybe some of you have written one? Well, I think they've all got one thing wrong, which is this idea that what you need to do is optimize your YouTube videos for the keywords that you want to rank for. I don't think that's true at all. And you will discover this if you ever go and just search for a random thing on YouTube. The keywords don't seem to be an enormous factor at all. What really matters is the clicks. Much like with Facebook, this is where YouTube becomes more of a social channel. What you need to do is be encouraging people to click through to the video, because the more people who click through when they're seeing the video in search or recommend videos on the side, this really impacts rankings and visibility across the board, which of course will get you a ton more views. And it's why a video like this stick of butter is left at a room temperature, you won't believe what happens next, can get over 1 million views when it is just a 3-hour video of butter melting. Because they've used the behavioral science principles of having a very sticky, clicky headline to make people go, well, better check it out. We are, unfortunately, as human beings, always susceptible to this. Bit of evidence to prove this works. I was working with a brand last year, 2 years ago, actually, in the UK. This is a big retail brand, and they had tons and tons of videos, and we wanted to play with seeing, okay, well, what can we actually do just by changing the titles and see if we get more views? So I called it Operation BuzzFeed. We changed all of the titles to be far less keyword-centric, far more click-centric, and we saw a nice little uptick there and far more people watching the videos overall. When you're optimizing for YouTube, the most important thing to worry about is whether you're getting traffic from these 3 things here. So if you're not getting traffic from YouTube search or YouTube suggested videos or YouTube channels, that means the platform really isn't working for you. If you're just acquiring all of your views from paid or from organic search on Google, then you're really not taking advantage of the YouTube platform itself. So views, again, not a brilliant metric to care about. What you should be caring about is how many views are you actually getting from these particular mediums themselves. So this guy here is my friend Kyle, and we went to university together. We've been friends a long time, and he now runs Jamie Oliver's Drinks Tube. Jamie Oliver is a celebrity chef in the UK, and Drinks Tube basically, just shows they have a ton of cocktail makers and chefs, and they show you how to make really, really good cocktails and all that kind of stuff. And I was really impressed with his channel because they get a ton of views, and they also have these really, really nice thumbnails that kind of have a consistency to them. So I took Kyle for a beer, and I said, Kyle, what's the principle here? How have you managed to get these to look so good and have that nice branded consistency across your channel? And he came out with this little gem of wisdom, which was, think of your thumbnails like movie posters. And that makes sense to me. And I think the problem with YouTube is that we've got into the habit of thinking a thumbnail is just a snippet from the actual video itself, because that's the default. But actually, once you have good community standing, you can upload your own thumbnails. And it's much, much better to go and create something that looks really smart and that looks unique, that's going to entice people to want to click through and watch the video, rather than thinking it just has to be completely authentic. So I'll give you an example. At the top, we've got Absolut, and at the bottom, we've got Danske vodka, so Sweden and Denmark. And you can see at the top, these nice consistency, they pop. They look more interesting, you're much more likely to click them. These ones here, a bit generic, not really much consistency. This isn't very appealing, and fewer views as well. So well done, Sweden. So at Wistia, where I mentioned I work, where we're a video software platform, we decided to get some data on what we thought, based on all of our customers, what the consequence of custom thumbnails were. And we discovered that roughly if you go and implement custom thumbnails rather than just having a default one, you see a 35% increase in play rate. So well worth doing. Final tip on YouTube, use playlists for terms that you don't rank for. Anybody work in SEO? A few of you. Really, really nice tip here. So again, one thing that Drinks Tube did really nicely is Thanksgiving was coming up in the US. So they just put together a little playlist called Thanksgiving Drinks, Jamie Oliver's Drinks Tube, and pulled together a bunch of recipes that they already had videos for that just matched the kind of thing that you might be having in the autumn and the fall. So what we find is that they're then able to rank for a ton more keywords, because people around that time are probably going on YouTube and searching for things like Thanksgiving drinks recipes, and they're there visible, even though they didn't have to create any new content to do this. And additionally, if you don't have any content yourself as a creator, you can just put other people's videos in this and still have links back to your business and all that kind of stuff. All right, so that's YouTube. What about Facebook and social? So how do most of you go on Facebook? Probably something like this. Or maybe like this. Yeah, Facebook video is mobile video. I think there's about 2/3 of Facebook users now don't even use Facebook on the desktop ever. It's just purely a mobile experience for them. And so from a video perspective, that means that we can stop thinking about video as this 16:9 and actually start thinking it as kind of vertical. It doesn't mean you have to create vertical video, but the entire frame, the lens which people are watching video from, is totally different to what we expect and what we think about in our traditional TV lens. And so while YouTube may be oral primarily, Facebook is actually visual. And this is because most people don't watch Facebook with the sound on, because if you're sat on a bus and you're just flicking through, you're not going to put the audio on because you don't want to kind of disturb the other passengers around you. And so here's some data from some analytics. You see that this dark blue line is all the people who actually click through to watch it with sound. Very, very few people. So in terms of actually learning how to optimize for Facebook, we need to learn, again, to make great silent films. So we need to probably think in terms of Charlie Chaplin and the greats of that era. And what did they learn about silent filmmaking that we can then apply to our new paradigm of silent autoplaying video? So YouTube has a skip ad button, right? But Facebook doesn't. Except that Facebook does, and it's called a thumb. And it goes like this. You flick through, and there's the video, and it's gone. So while YouTube may have a 5-second skip, Facebook probably 2 to 3 seconds. It's actually much, much harder to get people to see. And this kind of means that when we think about making Facebook video, we need to sort of consider the fact that we have to grab people's attention immediately. And we also need to understand why people go on Facebook. And I think it's really, they're looking for a snack. Normally we're bored, right? We go on Facebook, maybe some of you are sat there going, God, this guy's kind of weird. And you're just flicking through and you're gonna watch and you'll see a little video pop up because you're bored and you want a little bit of stimulation, a dopamine hit. And so I would advise any businesses out there who are thinking about engaging with social video for Facebook, think about making snacks. A great example here from Happy Socks. Good Danish brand, sorry, good Swedish brand, not Danish, sure. So obviously this works. They have a pug, they have a chap with handsome body and nice hair. And who isn't going to scroll past that and want to see it? It's fun, it's silly, it brings the brand in, but it doesn't advertise too heavily what's actually going on. Fun, nice. Bad example from Maersk. So here is shipping company. This was their Facebook video. No one's going to stop and watch this because it's not visual. It may be a very good video, but it's just an interview with the CEO, so it's not visual. So I think core takeaway here is really well done, Sweden, not so good, Denmark. So the main problem with Facebook compared to YouTube, as I mentioned, is the views. So when people are flicking through, actually often when someone's flicking through like I did earlier, that's going to be tracked as a view, which is kind of ridiculous because somebody just wafted past it. So when you're looking at Facebook analytics, don't just be seduced by that single view number, which is always going to be absurdly high. What you actually want to do is go into the videos themselves and discover what the more detailed information is. So as you can see here, the overall video views here for this one, 5,000. But views past 10 seconds were only 2,000. So really, this is probably a better metric to look at the overall real views, because this was just people that vaguely wafted past it as it was on in a room nearby. So it doesn't so much count. The other nice thing you can do with Facebook video is basically create custom audiences. Everyone know about custom audiences on Facebook? So this allows you to basically build an audience and do your paid distribution to target them specifically. And you can now do this specifically with video. So you can target the people who've watched just a certain amount of your video. So if we're Happy Socks, maybe someone's watched just one of those particular little snacks that we put out, and we then want to decide, well, they liked that one, they may like the next one, so we put some promoted spend behind that, and we just target people who watch, say, 75% of the video. Quick word of warning when it comes to paid distribution. I think it's really easy to think about paid and organic as different things, but actually where the new world of social video and video distribution is concerned, I think they're the same. And really we have to think of it as one process. So I think of it as the organic potential, the potential to go viral, the potential of people to like it is like a guitar, an acoustic guitar, and the paid distribution is just like the amplifier. So, you can have a guitar without an amplifier, but you can't have an amplifier without a guitar. I.e., you can't just take money and use it to promote something that you want people to see. It has to have that organic potential as well. So Periscope, anyone tried Periscope? Quite an interesting platform, run by Twitter. It's kind of a difficult one where people are saying, should we do live streaming? I think live streaming is a certain type of video itself. It's really where there's a privileged view. And so a privileged view means you're going to be showing something that people otherwise couldn't have access to, and that's why they want to tune in at a certain time. So you should only really probably Periscope if you have an exclusive event, like we could Periscope this event, and that would work. Maybe you have an interesting manufacturing process. Maybe you're Volvo, and you have a car manufacturing process, and people want to see what's going on there. Maybe you have an exciting physical space. GE in America did some really cool stuff, just flying a drone via Periscope around a bunch of their giant dams that they have. Or maybe you have an iconoclastic person. A great example from Adidas, they managed to get Lionel Messi and just asked him to kind of kick a football around, and of course, that got a ton of people tuning in. And then when we come to Snapchat, which is the last social platform I'm going to talk about, we're working with a platform here that is basically on a phone, but that doesn't mean that it has to be low quality, because you can buy a ton of peripherals that will really improve the quality of the video that you're making with your phone. The iPhone is a good camera. But if you go and buy a good, like one of these shoulder pods, a really nice little tripod, you can go and buy some lights to stick on. They're all cheap and will all really help to improve the quality of the content that you're making so that your Snapchats are going to pop and stand out from the mix. The most important thing with Snapchat, of course, is that it's slightly ephemeral, so that it really only lives for a short period of time, and when you open it, you really don't know what you're getting. So what you have to do is entice people to kind of know to expect something interesting from you over time, and then they're going to want to click through and see again. And the distribution mechanism for Snapchat, unlike a ton of the other platforms, is really quite difficult because it doesn't have it baked in. The way people discover new snaps is often through word of mouth and peer-to-peer, so you need to be able to think about creating things that people are going to want to talk about in a social setting. So that's kind of social video, and gives you a quick overview of how you might want to approach some of those different channels. What about your website? Well, I think there's broadly 3 different categories of videos that you might want to be including on your website. The first is culture videos. So as a business, you may want to show who you are. One of the great values of video is making business more human. Instead of being this big, homogenous lump of a brand identity, we can show the people that actually work at a business and put a human face on it, which can increase trust. We also then obviously want to have the most simple, which is product videos, so showing what we actually sell and encouraging people to go and buy it. And then lastly, learning videos, so showing what we know, which of course is exactly the same reason why you might be doing blogging or all that kind of stuff that's going to encourage more people to get into your funnel and start consuming the stuff that you want to say. Quick point on social video, make sure you don't, on website video, make sure you don't use these platforms for the video that you're using on your website. And most of you probably are, because I know most people in the world are. The problem with this is that you just don't get very good data. If you're using a paid-for platform, these aren't very expensive, but any of these are all good, and they're going to give you much, much richer data that you can send to your CRM, to your analytics platform, that you can then use to really understand more about your audience, which will allow you to make better content in the future and bring all that data into your broader marketing operations. Video SEO also still matters for on-site video. It's not just about YouTube. And the things that are going to determine whether or not your website can rank in Google search for video are broadly the query. So is this a query that actually is likely to return a video result? Something that's going to say how to in it is far more likely to than, say, car insurance, which is very unlikely to deliver a video result. Is there structured data? So still, in order to get a video index, Google can't quite read it. You need to provide that structured information specifically for Google themselves. The prominence of the video on the page, so videos that are high up the page tend to get indexed and ranking better than those that are right at the bottom because it's all about the prominence. The mobile friendliness, and then lastly, the domain level information as well. So is this an authoritative high page rank website? And there's a little tool here that I built which you can take away, which will allow you to go and check the ROI that you're getting from your on-site video, which is just a kind of Google Analytics dashboard. So final thing I want to finish on is just around CRM. Now, CRM is obviously an important part of marketing, and we were just talking about email. One thing that we have learned from some of the testing I've done is that email thumbs like this will tend to get a 300% increase in clicks versus the regular image. People tend to want to see an email and go, oh, that's cool. There's a video, and I'll go and watch that. But what's particularly exciting, I think, is the world of one-to-one videos. So creating videos just for one person. You make them quickly, and you send them out quickly, and they're only going to be watched very fast. And this allows you to show exactly what's going on and who you might be as a company, and it really, really works well in sales and support and all those things where a customer is having a direct interaction with your brand itself. So if I can just switch over to this feed on my laptop, I'm going to give you a tool which you can use for exactly this over the next day. Can we switch over? Yeah, marvelous. All right, so this is something I've been built. This doesn't leave this room. This is the first place I'm giving this away. And if you'd like it, I'm just going to ask that you fill in a survey so you can test this thing out. But basically what this does is a Chrome plugin. We're going to load up. And yeah, here I am. Hello. And so I can record a little feed of myself. And now I'm just talking to the computer. And I'm showing you that here's the survey I'd like you to fill in to have access to this tool. And when I press that, is it going to work for me? Oh, it's not working. Alas, anyway, basically what this will do is allow you to create a video really, really quickly, and then you can edit it on the fly in your browser and take it from there. Alas, the problem of trying to run a software live when I haven't got internet connection. No, oh, now I've got it. All right, one more go, and then I'll have to leave it there, but there we are. Let's try this. No, not to worry. Anyway, if you go fill in this survey, which is just at, I'll flick back, this link here, that will allow you to go and use this particular tool. Just fill in the survey, and I'll send you an email with all the details on how you need to install it. And then what you can do is it will allow you to do quick edits. So instead of just having the feed from the webcam, you can flip between the feed between the webcam and the laptop, and you can have them side by side as well. So if you want to do a webinar, you want to do a presentation, you want to just show somebody like a quick fix in the product or anything like that, it's very, very easy for you to do, and you can go and do that straight away. So instead of the message that you always have of go away and create great content, I want you to take away the message and instead go away and create more, smaller, lower quality videos and learn to get very, very good at that, and then we can expand to the big, great content as well. So thank you very much.